welcome in. Good morning. Good morning, farm girl. I'm glad about the people that come in here. Look at this. We're on week 5 of 10 of building the you that you've always wanted to be. And here we are. Good morning, Brian. The beginning of what some of us call summer, right? So we're halfway through this. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 5 left after this of being ourselves. Talking about adversity. We're talking about resilience. And no matter where you are in life, there's a lot of things that you've already managed where you were capable of making it through. And we call them lessons, but we don't forget about some of these lessons that we have in life. And we have an incredible mind. And when we realize that our mind is incredible and we don't compare it to how other people are, we don't compare ourselves, and we act against going against our values or watching out for things that might impede us. So how are we going to start this week? Well, week 5 is all about building resilience. It's bouncing back from adversity. There's a lot of research on this, on how what makes some people resilient. Some things might happen to us that if it happened to other people, how they take it might be quite different. How they handle loss, how they handle maybe being heckled, maybe how they handle people saying things about them. There's a lot of places in our life where adversity is going to affect us. And I got a lot of it right here. There's emotional, dealing with loss, heartache. There's financial adversity, experiencing job loss, financial instability. There's health adversity, social adversity, professional adversity, mental. And we can either handle it on default or we can handle it on how we control ourselves by being resilient. So what's resilience? So I'm going to try to explain it in a good way. So we know that adversity are the things that are going to happen in our life. Those are troubles. Those are things those are obstacles in our life that we're going to have to overcome. And resilience is how we're going to react to it. So let's just do a quick analogy you may or may not like. But so you have a boiling pot of water and it's boiling at a certain temperature. And if you put an egg in it, its reaction is going to be to become hard. What was once fragile, it hardens. And if you put a carrot into it, what was once hard, it softens. So we as people are like that too. We act in different ways in adversity. Some of it makes us tough, hard, closed out, isolated. And that's because there's a lot of factors into that. A lot of it has to do with our genealogy, our genes, what we experienced when we were younger, whether the home that we were brought in, our environment, whether we were poor, whether we're rich, a lot of different things. So with how you feel is almost like a balance way where you have a balance in your life. One side of it can be a lot of good experiences and the other side of it can be bad experiences. And sometimes the bad experiences in our life win and we focus over here where it's bad. But when there's more good experiences, and sometimes it's by the people that's in your life or the people that raised you. If you were responded to well as a child and you were mentored the right way when you were younger and you had a lot of good experiences and your self-esteem was built up, you were complimented a lot, then you would be on the good side of things. And it's all about of how we're perceiving things in life. It's all about how we feel about ourselves and what our experiences were in the past. So that's what we're going to talk about today, of why we are the way we are and how to be aware of resilience, how we're going to react when one of these things go wrong, whether it's emotional, financial, or health, or social, or professional, or mental, and how we're going to continue to maintain a positive outlook and be flexible because we're human. Staying flexible and knowing that we're human is probably part of the key to staying resilient. And not knowing that we don't always have to have control, because we don't always have control. Good morning, Alicia. I'm glad that you're in here. So a lot of times we have rejection of ourself and our thought and our abilities because the way that we think is impeding our growth. To grow into life, we have to have resilience. We have to take it on. We have to be the egg under pressure, where we harden that. We understand that this is something that's going to happen. Good morning. We're so happy that you're in here on week 5. Sometimes we have things that happen into our life, and there's things that we have to deal with. Sometimes we numb it out with screen time or go do something else. We just kind of put it on a back burner to soak on it, which might be good. But eventually we have to deal with things, with ourselves. And a lot of times we have to sort through some internal thoughts. And when we do that, we come across fears that we have. And some of the fears that we have come from situations in our life, or from our genes, or what we observed as kids, or what a teacher said, what a parent said, or a babysitter, or maybe a schoolyard bully. When we're writing these thoughts down regularly to uncover the patterns, sometimes we can uncover the discovery of where the pattern started into life. Totally. It is totally crucial in your life. And for self-understanding. And self-understanding we want that to happen. And sometimes it's rare in our life, because when things happen, we sometimes go right to our default, right to our emotions, right to the reaction. Our bag of reaction is, so if we carried a little bag around, if this was a bag, and if anything happens, we just reach in and pull out an emotion, because that's easy. That's the easy thing to do. Sometimes what we need is to just set this aside and to think about what's happened, to think about the crossroad that we're at in life, to understand ourselves of where we are and when's the right time to overcome our fears, which we know is now. So your thought and your actions and your reactions all have to do with resilience, of how we're handling life. Life is one big obstacle after another. We wake up with gratitude, knowing that things are going to go wrong. Staying resilient. There's going to be news that's going to bother us. There's going to be issues in our life, with our family, with our loved ones, that are going to bother us. But we want to stay strong, realizing that this is an element of our life, but it's not our whole life. So protecting ourselves emotionally and financially, and protecting our health and our mental thought, and protecting ourselves, are all feelings that we have that lead into our actions that eventually create our reality. And having a reality of what we want to do is common sense. So when we look at somebody that we feel is resilient, we don't want to compare ourselves to that person, but we want to try to understand of how they got that way. What made them able to handle some of the things that make us cringe? Do you think that it's possibly because they have an understanding that life's all about crossroads, what you come to and how you feel inside, if you're going to be flexible. When we bounce back, there was, we all read a little bit of old stuff, but Confucius said, the act of falling down isn't as great as the act as constantly standing back up. So to come back. So resilience is to come back. Remember, some of us when we were little, we had that odd shaped little clown that was fat on the bottom. If you punched it, it went down. It always came back, no matter what. It's like a ping pong ball. Even though you hit it, smack it, it comes back, it bounces. Resilience is coming back to where we once were. So when we're on cloud 9, somebody says something to knock us down, we just get back up to cloud 9. That was one little obstacle, one little thing that bothered me. Coming back from failures happens to people in sports, sport injuries. They have to stay resilient to get fixed again, to be back into sports. You're on top of your game, and then unfortunately something happens to your leg, ACL, or in your family. You go back. You got to come back to life. You can't have your life being, I have all of these problems, I have all of these things affecting me. My job, my health, my finances, my professional, my mental, my relationships. I can't live anymore because of all of these things. Bouncing back. These are things that I'm dealing with. These are things I can journal about. I can talk to people about them. But really looking back into our lives of how we developed emotionally, what our genes are, what we witnessed in our life, a lot of what we deal with today comes from that. So we had to sort, we had to journal, and we had to look at, we had to understand ourselves through self-reflection. It's time to, in life, here in the 5th week, we're talking about living the best you, is understanding resilience, is bouncing back. And we have a lot of reasons not to bounce back from some things we used to enjoy that we justify. I don't go here anymore because of what this person said or did. I don't go here anymore because they served me stale bread. I don't do this anymore. We justify. And if we really listen to ourselves, we're realizing that we're just protecting fears and things that we don't understand. That we just don't understand. These are things we don't understand about ourselves, things that trigger us. So staying resilient means that we're not just waiting for an opportunity to practice resilience, but staying resilient would mean to get in touch with ourselves, to get in touch with our emotions, to get in touch of who we are, realizing there will be adversity in life, realizing that things are going to go wrong. You will be getting bad news in life. That's going to happen. And you can't let that live your life. We're going to have moments of distress. We're going to have moments of tears. And we're going to have moments of laughter. But for some reason, we like to hang on to what's really gone wrong. And we want to know why that is. And why that is because sometimes that's proof to ourselves because of the way that we mentally talk to ourselves. One of the things I got on this board over here, it says, building resilience is critical for personal development. It helps cultivate supportive relationships, maintain a positive outlook, being flexible, and choose presence over distraction. Choosing presence over distraction. That would really be the key, because when we're focusing on distractions, it's taken away from our moment. It's taken away from living life, enjoying it, experiencing life. And to remember us talking about taking ourselves off of autopilot, finding the default. We just had a 12-week program of how not to live on default, to on purpose realize I understand what adversity is. I understand what resilience is. I want to live my life this way. And that would be by studying it. That's what's fascinating, because we can learn a lot about ourselves when we study. When we pick up a book, when we read a little bit about it, and then we see in there, wow, this is me. This is what I do. And it gives you comfort to grow. When you start journaling and you start having a sense of understanding about life and what life is, it gives you comfort to grow. It gives you comfort to be part of the process, right? To know what good is, there would have to be bad. To know what hot is, there would have to be cold. So there's opposites in life. So hot and cold is warm, good and bad. Would that be taken when you put good and bad together with resilience? Would be maybe understanding and having comfort with your understanding, and that we are growing as individuals with this course. So sometimes we can't be resilient because of self-doubt. That we're not capable of doing a lot of things in our life because of just self-doubt, because we doubt that we're able to do it. But if you break the fear of doubt and try and fail, then when you try again, that's resilience. That's coming back. That's putting it together. That's doing something until you get it right. Bouncing back. That is what resilience is. Not allowing the adversity, not allowing the obstacle to control your future. So you want to distinguish between internal thoughts and external realities. Because there's a lot of things we internally believe that externally is not true. Because we are capable of living our dreams. We are capable of getting that job. We are capable of saving. We are capable of love in our life. And we're capable of forgiveness. And we hide some things internally because we don't feel that if we brought it out externally that it's going to work. Resilience is giving things a try in the face of doubt. It's bouncing back from failure. So think about that today. Think about that. What do you believe internally? What thought in your head do you believe that you've never tried externally? Just something that you believe. Where did that come from? Is it something that your grandparents told you? Your parents, a babysitter, or is it just a thought that you have that you've never put it to a test? What do you do? And it is a reset. So we're focusing only on what we can control. Our lenses that we look at life with, we can control that, right? We can control that. So where are we going to be today? Where do we be? So basically, when we're talking in this whole 10 weeks, what I'm hoping is that the outcome of all of this helps you reduce fear, that it helps you live a better life. And part of that is being resilient, is bouncing back. Bouncing back. And there's a lot of people who deal with having a problem with bouncing back. When I show you some of what's on the board here, and we're looking at some of what we're talking about, and I know that we can all think of a time, emotional, dealing with loss or heartbreak. How do we bounce back from an emotional setback, from some emotional adversity? I can think of many times when I've lost my sister, where I've lost my father, I've lost my mom, and the days following that were bad. I mean, but we get over that. So it doesn't keep me from loving my other brothers and sisters. It doesn't keep me from loving people in my life. But at that time, I was emotionally paralyzed because of the loss. Adversity happens. Good morning. And we have times in our life where we're dealing with loss, where we're dealing with heartbreak, emotional times, where people they get cheated on, they get backstabbed by friends. Does that keep you from having friends? Does that keep you from going into a new relationship? Bouncing back. If you're somebody that likes to be in a relationship and you find a bad one, um, that doesn't mean you don't deserve one. And we have to look at what we're looking for in relationship, what we're looking for, because some of us are wired wrong. Some of us go for things that because our nervous system and our entire body and our thoughts process depends sometimes on chaos, and we need to recognize that, especially when it comes to finances or it comes to emotions. If we're used to chaos, if we're into chaos, if we're into not recognizing if somebody's controlling our life, these are all things on how to recognize some of the limited beliefs in our life so we can be happy. And we want to look at that through patterns. So if you have an emotional adversity that is always the same thing every couple of years, that would be called a pattern. I'm not talking about when people die. I'm talking about relationships, situations that we find ourselves in. If there's patterns there, if there's patterns of reaction, financial patterns of maybe always being broke or down at the bottom, where does that come from? Health patterns where you don't feel good, could it be eating and this and that? And I definitely don't teach health. Social discrimination, social isolation, different things of adversity, places we don't go because there's somebody there we don't like and we can't get over that. You can't let the adversity from social situations, people that might want to be on TikTok, but they're not because they get heckled. And we have professionals, your time in your life where you have professional career setbacks or job dissatisfaction or a poor boss or poor directions or go to a job where you don't even know what your job is. And then we have mental adversity, stuff that comes up, whether or not it's, whether or not anxiety, self-talk, and self-esteem, and which goes up and down, whether or not that's adversity, that is an argument amongst some people from some study that I do, but I believe it is. So you have mental adversity, professional, social, health, financial, emotional. I wrote a couple little notes over here last night that have to do with avoid, default, scrolling instead of living, having bad thoughts, negative self-talk, the same old self. These are things that you choose. Becoming the me I've always wanted to dream of requires building. Isn't that interesting? That right up under there, becoming and building. So to become, we have to build. We have to build our thoughts. We have to build an understanding of ourselves. But for you to be heard and understand that we need to build is you have to listen to yourself. Because only you know. Only you know. You know where you are emotionally, financially, with your health, your social, and professional, and mental. And you have a bag of reactions, and you have defaults that you're living by. Are these right now the best ways to be living that way? So observe your self-talk. Observe where you feel your resilience is in your life. And understand that a lot of the default, the way that your reaction are patterns in your life, and some of them aren't that healthy. And sometimes we just have self-doubt. That the self-doubt takes over. Self-doubt just gets in the way. Sometimes when we want to go on these 10-week rides, on these 12-week rides of self-doubt that I can't do this, but you can. Handling self-doubt involves distinguishing between your internal thoughts and your external reality. And which means that we just focus on what we can control. We focus on what we can control. So today we can think about what's going to go right, what has gone right, what's in our control, what we want to read, how we want to react, and knowing that we can bounce back from anything. And we're capable of doing that. And if you don't feel you are, then we have to journal to try to figure out what's impeding us from living a happy life. To be right back to happy. Sometimes we have anxiety because we recognize I have anxiety. I'm feeling anxious. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I can't breathe. If we're journaling totally helps with self-doubt and negative self-talk. But when we shift that, when we reframe that, hey, wait a moment, this is going to pass. I am a happy person. I'm grateful. I have a job. May not be the best job, but I have one. I have friends. I have people in my life that care about me. So focus 100% of your energy on what's positive in your life, right? So understand that self-doubt starts in the mind. It doesn't start in reality. It just starts right here. That's where self-doubt comes from. Resilience is bouncing back. Remember trying to ride a bike or eventually growing into getting a driver's license? All of it comes in time in life. So I defy self-doubt intentionally by acting against any of its suggestions. Acting against the suggestions that this may not be for you. This isn't something that you can do. I mean, personally, right now, should I be out doing construction because that's what I do for a living, and have a fear response and just do that, or should I constantly indulge in growth in life and sharing that with people? And the way I really feel is I enjoy doing this and I fit in, and it may not be for everybody, but it's something that I enjoy, and I enjoy study. And I enjoy indulging in growth. Thank you, Brian, throwing that in there. So we're going to focus on progress and the process in life. The process of progress. Understanding, indulging into resilience. And find a behavior that we have that are tied directly to past wounds in our life. But keeping ourselves grounded. Want to stay grounded, right? Want to stay grounded and compassionate to ourselves. Being compassionate to ourselves and understanding that we're here to be happy. That way, it softens any type of judgment we have to ourselves. Remember, when we're looking at things that we want, we don't compare ourselves. First of all, gratitude is appreciating what we have. It's not going after things that we want or what we think that we need. Gratitude is acknowledging what I have, not what I want. It's acknowledging what I have. So how far are we in this 5 weeks? Do we have gratitude for what we own? Last week we were talking about developing a growth mindset, and we had really good conversations about that. Week 3 we're setting goals and intentions, and they were thought goals. Are we still writing down the good thoughts? And our goals to be, I'm going to tell myself a story a week of where I succeeded. Identifying fears and limiting beliefs and overcoming barriers. Overcoming barriers. Resilience falls in there. We have to be resilient to do that. And understanding personal growth. So this 5 weeks, we're talking about personal growth. Resilience, you're going to have it because you're going to have to bounce back to grow up, right? So when we were taking ourselves back to what is being resilient, how does different social pressure People are going to react in different ways. People are going to react in different ways to the same thing. Sometimes we see a friend that has a problem that we once have, and they're going to react totally different. You ever watch the movies, and I like watching mystery movies, and they're like, oh, that suspect doesn't really act like he cares about what happened. People act differently in times of distress. In health, financial, emotional, social settings, we act differently, right? We act differently. And we learn that. It's in our genes of why we learn that way. But back to a boiling pot of water, it does different things to different elements. And that is kind of like explaining how some things react. If you put carrots in a boiling water, they become soft. You put an egg in it, it becomes hard, the opposite of being fragile. So that's kind of like what resilience is. That's how we handle the pressure in our life. Getting hard like eggs or soft like carrots, right? So your ability to adapt came from somewhere. It came from your genes. It came from what you've learned. But here's the thing. It can be changed. You can control that. You can mentally change the outcome of situations in your life by understanding what resilience is, by understanding past patterns, by journaling, by indulging into your life, and purposely choosing to study instead of react, to go down into it, ever. Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate all of you. To go down and grab at your well-being. Go for it. Go for it. Find the patterns. And in that, you'll begin to see that you'll notice how your tone in life changes when you find patterns. And then that way, when you're threatened or you feel threatened, you'll start to dismiss those threats. Because you'll understand that some of these triggers were about me. You're starting to understand and get it. What once bothered you now doesn't. You just realize that there's a noise there, but we don't listen for it. We ignore it. We ignore the old patterns of our old self. We no longer feed it. When we're feeding thoughts, that's feeding actions and some reality. I wrote this little thing over here last night when I was playing on the board. You see that? Right over there. Feelings drip down into thoughts, that drip down into actions, that drip down into reality right there. See that? Those are our feelings and thoughts, actions and reality. So at the end of the day, it's us that's creating our reality. 100%. So in our career, in our finances, in our thought, in how we think and how we feel, we want to stay resilient. And if you have problems with that, then we want to journal. It's something that can help you grow in a fast, good way to stay happy. And there's a big difference between consuming this wisdom and how you're going to use it. When you consume it is, where can I put this into my life, what I'm listening to today? Well, where you can put it into your life is you can journal about it. And why is it when this happens to me, I get all upset, cluttered, and I freeze. I get paralyzed and I have fear. But when this happens to my sister or my brother, they can just get right through it. That's because there's a wound or something there that's impeding you from doing it. But trying it again is what resilience is. Trying it again. Everywhere you failed. Of what you want in life, what you don't think you can have because of self-talk and some things that you tell yourself. Resilience is what brings you there, is what tries you. How come every time that a batter goes up, he's not going to hit a home run every time, but I guarantee he's trying to and he wants to. And then once in a while, he hits one when the bases are loaded and gets a grand slam. That's why he's a star, because he's going to give it a try. He doesn't quit. He doesn't say, Coach, I'm never batting again because the last 10 times I batted, I was struck out. Right? Do you have patterns in your life where you've given up on some things that you enjoy and then blamed it on other things in your life? And I don't have time to do this. Something else is there. You got to connect the dots between your present and your behavior. Connect the dots. Find out where you could be more resilient. Connect the dots in your life to happiness, to where you were once happy. Think about a time in your life where you were happy. Be compassionate with yourself and forgive. And you can't blame or compare. And instead of silencing your fears, try to understand them. Try to stay flexible in life. Realize that when you're planning the perfect day and it rains, it's still the perfect day if the day exists, right? So it's what goes right in life. And what goes right in life because of effort. How about that? Not just like every time I rode down the street, the light went green at every intersection, right? Have you ever had one of those times where the everything went right? Concentrate on what's going right, and more right happens, and more right you're going to recognize. When you concentrate more on negative things happen, your day's going to be negative. So your mindset says it all. So why do you really feel the way that you do? And sometimes we numb it out with screens, with social media. These phones and social media and how they're actually made to be addictive. Programs are. Platforms are made to be addictive. And they're going to be addictive because you know why? Because they keep us from dealing with regular human thoughts about ourselves. So don't let that technology take away the fact that you still are human. And when you're scrolling in this, you got to put time limits on this stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, I know I'm on a forum right now, but we're using it as a tool to make ourselves better. And we're just giving it to people. And all their impulses and their responses and everything's going to be built on these phones. Take it away from something, but I'm not sure. So what we want to do in life, you can respond instead of react. You can pause instead of spiral, and you can choose your values over your impulses. Not because someone told you to, but because you know who you are and what you stand for. And that's where real power lives. It's not in control of others. It's not in domination, but it's in peace and being yourself. And it's the ability to govern your own mind, to be the chariot, not the dragged rider, right? That's what we want. Recognize when your old patterns are rising and still differently. That's freedom. That's not absence of struggle, but the presence of awareness within it. You want to stay aware of who's controlling your mind. You want to be aware of what's pulling you away from your values, your core values, where you want to be, what your plans are. Stay away from people pleasing. Stay away from people that want you to fail. They're out there. And do more for yourself. Does that mean you stop caring about other people? No, it means that your actions are going to start coming first. Your actions and your activity are guided and controlled by you. And you want them to align. You want to have an aligned life. Put it this way. I think to be resilient would be a conscious act every day of a mix of journaling, a mix of prayer, a mix of gratitude, and of realizing where you are, and a big, huge smile at yourself for understanding personal growth, for trying your best with the tools that you have now. And realizing that the past, when shit happened, those were tools that you had at the time. So when you see patterns that you want to break, what do you need? You need new tools. You need a mindset. You need to reframe your negative thought. You need a new mindset, a new set of tools as you get older into life. What do you do with the wisdom you gained today? Are you going to utilize it? Are you going to put it to work? Are you going to write down what resonated with you? Are you going to conquer when you're feeling down about yourself? Are you going to realize that you are in control of your emotions, your finances, your health, your social situation, your professional career, and your mental talk? Stay flexible, stay positive, and kill it. You know, stop being a stranger to yourself. Find what you want to do. A lot of us stay strangers. We're just on default. We're just doing what we do all the time, every day. Instead of discovering, we're just accepting, okay, this is my life. I jump on a train every day. I go into work every day. I deal with kids every day. I fix things every day. That's my life, and it's happening to me. I'm not living it. I'm a bag of reactions. I do what I say on the weekends. I'm controlled by everybody, my kids, and everybody's taking over my life. I've been screwed over. I don't like myself. I'm all feared. Those are just reactions that are easy. This bag of reactions, and we react to it. Oh, that's how it always is. Well, no. Here's how it should be. Take control of your life. Indulge and enjoy. And purposely, intentionally, with effort, make it align with you, your schedule, your time, and have clarity. Having clarity. I want to be resilient. I want to have clarity in my life. Clarity. To totally understand I'm 100% in control of how I feel and what my schedule is going to do. And I'm going to do it through clarity. And I'm not going to be interrupted by other people's cockadoodle bullshit, what they say, little comments, because we know better. And if you don't know better, then it's time to get wise to that. There's only one voice that you listen to, and that's yourself. And it's a strong one. It's resilient. It knows there's going to be adversity. It knows there's going to be people with dark agendas sometimes in our life. Recognize that your old patterns are going to start being crushed while your new patterns rise and take control through adversity, through strength, and through self-belief that you're going to teach yourself. So there's a difference between consuming the wisdom you're going to get and living it and knowing when to practice it. And now is the time to practice it in the present. In the present. In the present. Dominate it. Dominate your mind. Focus. Become the egg. Become change and transform your life through the resilience. Transform your life through flexibility, through thought, by reacting intentionally to your schedule, by acting intentionally to your freedoms, by acting intentionally to your emotions so you can deal with it, your finances so you can experiment, your health so you can live it, your social so you can live it, your professionalism to pay for it, and your mental health to indulge and to enjoy it. So it's not all about what others think, it's all about how you feel. Pay attention to your inner life and pay attention to what you don't want to expose of your inner life. Expose it, live your dreams, write it down. Connect the dots between your present and your past behavior, so you can find patterns of why this happens. Why do I have a new job all the time? Why do I have this all the time? Why do I have to stare at a phone screen half the time when people are talking to me? So just don't fight yourself. Stop the paradox. Just don't be into a battle or at war with yourself and your emotions between what you think you know and what you've learned and how you have to live. Unleash yourself. Find what's paralyzing you and break through your fears. Don't avoid them. Just break through them because you can. Because you can. So, when we're talking about the concept of personal growth, it's a process of self-improvement through conscious effort. That means that we're living consciously with an effort. And if you 2 times an hour, I'm going to say consciously living in effort, and I'm grateful because I understand this. And you throw in some prayer there and some repetition, and you don't have to be intense. Repetition beats out intensity any day of the week. So we want repetition in our life to change our mindset about things that we're trying to change into our life. And it's done in little bitty steps. So when we have a dream and we write it down, and then we put action after writing that is a plan now into motion. And we're going to do it in a right way. We can eat an elephant over time, a bite at a time. It would take time. So that would be a measurable goal. How long is it going to take? That's correct. Our emotions come and go. They are points and guides to our mindset. That is very true. So, somewhere in fear and in love from confusion, just try your best with the tools you have now. And try to realize what new tools that you need. Discover yourself through journaling, through what you've been through what you hear, and be compassionate with yourself. And treat yourself good and forgive yourself. And just find that place in life where you fit in, where you feel your best. For some of us, it's being a brother. For some of us, it's being a friend. For some of it, it's being kind to ourselves. Focus on the process. Don't pay too much to the outcome yet, but focus on the process. The outcome will develop. That's how you really work a goal. You're going to focus on the process, because the process is where we are now. So the process of making our life resilient is a process. So we don't need to think of the outcome and put us into the future. So right now in the present, there's a process going on in our life, and we're changing it through our 10-week course that we all volunteered to look at and put into our lives to see how it helps us. So we want to focus on the process. And that is doing your best in the present moment, acting in accordance with your values every day. What your values are, what you value, what's important to you, what enhances your emotions, what enhances your professional career, what enhances your connection with your family, your life, your kids, your parents. What enhances that? We all know what dooms it. And that doesn't mean we give in. That doesn't mean we're selfish. It means that we're going to concentrate on the process of making all points bulletin of everyone in our life better. And it starts up here, not with them, not what they need to change. It's how you need to reframe your emotions, your reactions, not theirs. So when I say to make change, to make process, remember, it's your process we need to work on. It's things about you when triggers happen, not about what people are doing. It's your triggers. when it comes to kids, when it comes to partners, when it comes to friends, when it comes to employees, when it comes to anybody. You own your triggers, and your triggers have more to do with you than the person that you think is triggering it. So that's where the process is. Process is up here in the head, not out there because this person said that, not over here because this person's doing that, or not because your neighbor put up a fence or looked over. It's triggers. It's your work. So anything that triggers you, anything, this is a pet peeve of mine. Well, it's not because someone's doing that. It's because that's something in you. That's a wound for you to deal with, not your neighbor. You know, I was told one time in 7th grade or 8th grade, we lived in Kansas, by a neighbor, could you not wear a hat in your backyard because somebody broke into our house or something one time, they were wearing a hat, and that triggers me, and I wore the hat anyway. So we can't tell other people what to do. That's not my fault. I'm not going to not wear a hat because that hat triggers somebody. That it would be something that they need to get over emotionally on themselves, right? So think about that. Think about the process of change. The next time you get upset, just tell yourself, pause. The process of change. Why is it that I'm upset that I just got cut off in traffic? Why is it that instead of knowing that that person's going somewhere too, just like you, sometimes we feel isolated in our vehicle because we're in a bubble. If your cart bumps in a grocery store where you see somebody, you don't honk at them or say, hey. No. When we feel protected, it's kind of like we have our own way of thinking, like this protection's around us as we're in our car. So we can flip people off, we can honk at them, and all of our triggers are on full alert then because maybe we're the asshole driver. It's just something to think about of what's triggering us really has nothing to do with the other person who's doing the triggers. So when we're paying attention to it, that's a good place to start on the process in our life, is find out why things bother us, what intimidates us, and the presence of awareness in your life brings in this whole, like Scotland Yards. It's going to uncover all kinds of processes in your life when you start being aware. When you start really looking at and putting processes in your life, it's like bringing in little detectives of your own to find out that this bothers me because of A, B, and C. This comes from my aunt. This comes from the holidays that I had in life. Realizing, being resilient, and then realizing there's going to be adversity, that you're still related to these people, that you're still a connection to there. But instead of spiraling, instead of falling into a spiral or a rabbit hole over it, just plug the hole and forget about it. And realize that that's not in control of you now, because the part of your new process is to put to rest, to pull some weeds, to cultivate new growth in your life, to plant some seeds that blossom. Instead of weeds that take control in our mind, plant new seeds of joy and hope in your life. Do that through prayer, do that through journaling, do that through understanding there's a process to make the change that you need to, and to stay resilient through your faith and through life. That's happened. You know, sometimes our minds are like natural disasters, like a tornado. And the reason why they are, probably besides scrolling and a lot of things at night, is we're not writing it down. When you write down like some of your problems, here's a page full of just problems and things we're working on, right? So we're working on some of these. It's a reminder to stay mindful, the gratitude journal, visualizing my goals, and combat some negative talk. Goal setting, break it down, what my goals are, into smaller steps and reflection, right? So when we're writing things down, it's more controllable because you can see it. And then you can read it more, and it's manageable now. It's manageable. When things are manageable, so when you go to the store, for because there's nothing to eat at the house, isn't that big? There's nothing to eat. I got to go to the store. So does that mean we get one of everything in the store, or do we write a list down that's manageable? We check our dairy, we check this, we check. That's what journaling is. So to make a little list in life, you can journal about your emotions. You can department just like dairy, meats, just like going to the grocery store. How are my finances? How are my emotions? How is my health? My social standing, my professional life, my mental life, and who's in it that doesn't belong in here? Do they align with my values? Does this purchase align with my long-term goals and values? This is staying in the process and in the present at the right time. Not for the, but thinking about the process is the act of engaging and being mindful and staying and living in your present. Resilience, bouncing back, bouncing back. When you're told at work you're not doing so good, just bounce right back. When somebody tells you you can't do it, bounce back. When you fall down, get right up. Someone gives you attack, don't counterattack, just go back to where you were. Ignore and find out why that would bother you. Understand the trigger, understand the process. And when I'm talking about understanding the process, it's understanding the process about yourself. I always want to consider my reactions during the day. That's something that you should do. Consider your reactions. Not which one you're going to use, but consider the reaction that where somebody said or how they made you feel. Consider that. Good morning. Considering reactions. And then question your beliefs and question why something may or may not be part of your process that's going to work for you in life. That's going to work for you. So week 5 is pretty good. I think, and I always say this, but Friday will have some good things. But one thing is, you'll be reshaped if you show up for yourself every day. This is how you're going to shape yourself and how you're going to form a new perspective in life by showing up in the present, in the moment, and realize there's a process in your life. The process in your life isn't there if it's not journaled, if it's not written down, if it's not being kept track of. And you can't be like, I'm one of these people in your mind. I'm going to tell you a pretty good story really quick. I go, well, I guess I don't know who watches it and who doesn't. But anyway, there's a restaurant that I go to sometimes, and there's people that want to play their little, I can remember all this stuff, the order of 12, 15 people. And when it comes back, it's always a little screwed up, right? Because they're not writing it down. Oh, well, I don't have to because I remember, and this is how I do it. This is my mind game. Well, they're playing with other people's money, and how do you get a tip that way? And my meal seems to be the one that they mess with all the time. And I know that some people I go out with think that really bothers me, but it doesn't. It bothers me for the other person because all you have to do is simply write down your order and give yourself an order. What can you do to stay in your process today? Well, first thing you can do is evaluate your self-talk, how you feel about yourself. Get rid of all the negativity. When you get home later today, I want you to really, what went right? What's going to go right today? What are you going to do today to stay in your process and to stay present in your life? Being in control of it, knowing that there's a process. What are you going to do with the new wisdom that you have? And motivate and have clarity in your life. Yeah, that's right. Give yourself the order. What is it you want? What is it that you need more of in your life from yourself? If you could give yourself anything today, what would it be? What would fulfill you today? And if you don't want to journal, just sketch your thoughts out. Just sketch them. You can be a sketcher. There's diddling journaling, this kind of journaling, those kinds of journaling. One of the things that makes me laugh is that, and you know what, we were talking about resilience, how I used just a boiling pot of water, how it can make carrots soft or eggs hard, right? The pot of water represents a social pressures our life, and how it's going to change us. And we're different because things happen to some people, it doesn't bother them at all. Or does it, and they just know how to control it. What changes you? What's the one thing that's changed you? What can make you angry? What can make you laugh? And understanding that there's a certain thing going on all the time in our life, and it's called adversity. And it happens in all of these ways: emotionally, financially, our health, our social, our professional, mental, all of these ways, right? What are you going to do with that wisdom today? How are you going to combat your negative self-talk? And how are you going to reinforce yourself? How are you going to stay strong? Well, how are you going to do it is by staying present and realizing that information, you're going to utilize it, and knowing that you're in control of your thoughts. So when you reflect or you journal, it's like looking through a kaleidoscope. Remember when you're a kid, you can look through that and there's just all these colors and puzzles. You're like, wow. If you were to journal, just a gratitude journal every day, you will get that kaleidoscope in about 2 weeks. You'll realize in 10 to 12 days that, I'm starting to know things of gratitude. I'm looking forward to staying in the present. Instead of just sucking down my Starbucks, I'm taking 10 minutes to drink it. Instead of just rushing through my meal, I'm dining and enjoying it. Instead of just having to park closest to where I'm going, I'm parking further away and enjoying a walk. Just notice these little things. Instead of being in a hurry, I'm taking my time. No matter what, we're going to get to the end of our life at the exact moment that it ends. So there's nothing to be in a hurry about. But it's how you show up for yourself every day. How do you show up for you? When you clock into work, when you wake up, you're clocking into your life. Did you ever think of that? When you're clocking in to your life and it's unfolding through our thought. And our thoughts and feelings are creating actions, and that's creating our reality. So isn't that interesting that your entire reality is your thoughts and your feelings, your nervous system, how things make you feel? Have you ever heard somebody, God, I'm sick to my stomach, this and that? We have nervous systems, and sometimes we carry feelings of our nervous systems into our adulthood. And these are thoughts and patterns that we developed as of kids through growth and things, and we can change it. We can change our mindsets. So how are you clocking into yourself today? What are you representing for you today? You are your only representative in your life. And you can't rely on outside validation, because that would become addicted and it would be a constant. What you need to rely on is self-validation. Knowing what your strengths are, knowing what you're going to do, and knowing how you're going to feel. Knowing what you're in control of. And what are you going to do with the new wisdom you get in your life? Where can you apply it? Where can you right now actively engage in your life, in your process of growth, which is constant? Growth never stops. When a seed is planted and there's water in the sun and what you give it, it's constantly growing. Growth never stops. So realize that it never stops up here. So it will get better because of the effort and the process that you're applying, of what you're putting in, the weeds you're pulling, and what you're replacing it with. Positive affirmations, reminding yourself and keeping a positive mindset and staying flexible in life. Staying flexible in life, knowing that it's just things are going to be thrown at you. They could rain any moment in our head. And, that'll eventually go away. So keep yourself correct and stay in the moment of processes of your life. And choose your values over your impulses. Become somebody become somebody that you want to be in yourself. And don't compare yourself to people. Don't dismiss compliments. But what you want to do is you can choose your values over impulses. That's what you can do. You can choose common sense over reaction. Don't live, don't let life live you. Live life. Indulge in life. And I'm here every Tuesday. And I'm here every Friday at 7 a.m. And I've had a lot of these series. I've had a series on boundaries, series on emotions. Now it's just series on living intentionally. And if you missed any of them, you can click my link tree and you can watch them all on YouTube. They're free. They're free for you to live a good intentional life. Don't be a stranger to yourself. Find the real you. Realize your blessings and stuff in life. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just somebody that I think can just help you pause for a moment and escape your old self. Escape the chains that are holding you down. Get out of the prison you're in. I'll help you escape. I'll throw you the key. But you have to do the work. You have to do the process of the work. I myself was once in an emotional prison, locked up mentally, and I couldn't get free until I started journaling. And so I started believing in myself and realizing that it's not other people that made me this way, it's the way I thought. It's the way I'm breathing. It's the way I'm reacting. It's what I'm not appreciating in life. I need to grow up some, which so I don't even know what I'm going to do when I grow up. But it means to be mentally strong, staying resilient, and being good to yourself today. Today was a little longer than an hour, which is cool. I want everyone to be good to themselves and journal. And I'll see you this Friday. Thanks for being in here today. Have a wonderful, blessed day. And